Randy Landreneau serves as the president of the Inventors Rights Advocacy Group. He's invented several things himself as a patent holder and former president, that is, a current board member of the Tampa Bay Inventors Council. Hey, good to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
But when it comes to big tech, you say, regulating big tech isn't going to stop the silencing of conservative voices. A lot of people think it would certainly do that. What is your point of view?
Well, they have so much power that they have. I mean, when you've got all the power, you kind of can make your own rules. And if you're on the other side of an issue, you can push one side that may be opposed to most of the country, And what got them there, though, is what is such a key factor that's under most people's radar. And that is that big tech decided about 10 years ago that there was an easy way to drastically reduce any potential competition that they would ever have to face. And that is to make it easier to invalidate the patents of a startup or a competitor. And what they did was they got a law passed. It's called the America Invents Act. It created a new administrative court where it used to be that these patent battles, patent infringement battles took place in real courts with real justice, right, and juries and real judges and a lot of due process. Now they end up in an administrative court where it's a rigged game. It's a kangaroo court where 84% of the time the patent gets either fully or partially invalidated. And how about that?
Well, that is remarkable to say the least. How do we break through, though? How do we get the voices that need to be heard to make sure that we don't live in a place where people get canceled, basically get shut down, the plug pulled? How do we get there?
Well, I think, from my standpoint, the standpoint of American innovation, which has been the keynote for America from the very beginning of the country. I mean, there's a reason why we led the world in innovation, right? It's because our founders had this brilliant idea that a common person should be able to own what he or she invents. And this was a change in the world. And so the answer is, if you have free competition in America for the airwaves, for what big tech controls, if you really have free competition, you then will have all the voices. And so, yeah, they may not play you on their channels, but you'll be heard on the channels that are fair. And what big tech has done, though, is if there is a competitor with a new technology of any type that would compete with big tech, they can actually just crush the competitor and take the technology because the patent doesn't have the value that it used to. It doesn't have the legal, you can't defend it like you used to. So you can't compete with them, which is why they have such little competition. That's the key. And I got to tell you, Steve, this is a key reason that America was so different than the rest of the world for so many years, which was that we had real rights of inventors. If you invented something, and that's why America led the world in innovation. And I got to tell you something. This all changed within the last 10 to 12 years. I mean, it totally changed because of what big tech did with their lobbying and their influence and being able to push a narrative far and wide and influence our politicians. And I don't think our politicians were for having the inventor destroyed in America. They just were sold a bill of goods by a whole bunch of lobbyists.
Yeah, so it's interesting because, you look at how China steals patented, intellectual, property all the time. And no protection for anybody. Yep. I mean, there'd be no reason for any of it. I don't care if it's John Deere or Ford Motor Company or Motorola or, Apple, whomever. If you didn't have patent protections, they wouldn't have the success that they have. They wouldn't have the ability to create the things they create. Fair?
Yeah, fair. I mean, look, that gives you the incentive to create it to begin with. How can you devote your life to something where you might go broke, but you might have a big win and change the world? How could you ever commit to that if you didn't have something to gain from it in the end? It's also a matter of fairness. Hey, you created it, you should have some value there. But here's the thing: what big tech got created through the law they got passed with this administrative court that invalidates patents. This same court is used by Chinese companies connected to the Chinese Communist Party to invalidate the patents of Americans legally and take their technology.
Yeah, and so, but how do we get back to a place where we have strong patents, the ability to protect? Because here's the other thing that happens in America these days. The big guy gobbles up the little guy, whether they have patents or not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Right? I mean, they just
I hear you. I mean, I hear you, but I got to tell you, what we used to have in America is if you had a patent and you had a good case against an infringer, even if you were poor, you could fight the case on contingency, where the attorney, shares in the winnings. You don't have to be rich to start the battle. And I know a guy did that 30 years ago with a car company, stole his like a high-tech shock absorber that he had invented, and he won because the system was fair. So it actually was pretty fair in the past. I mean, it wasn't easy to beat a large infringer, but there was a fairness to it. Now that's totally gone. And and I'll tell you, one of the things that will probably outrage you, like it did me when I found it out. This administrative court that was put in place, it was actually set up by the then director of the patent office. It was set up and basically weaponized by the director of the patent office at the time. That director in 2011 was the former head of patent strategy at Google. So this was the person who set up this court that now is used by big tech and any other large entity to invalidate
patents. So just
patents.
like everything else, it's rigged by the big companies to protect themselves, and they don't care if you're protected or conservative voices or anything else. That's the bottom line. I have to leave it there. Good conversation. Good thing for people to know. Real quick, you got 10 seconds.
Okay, your viewers, go to usinventor.org, sign the Inventor Rights Resolution, and take a look at, there is a bill in Congress right now led by Thomas Massey of Kentucky that will fix the system. It gets us back to an independent judiciary to fight these battles, so it's not a rigged political game. But go to usinventor.org and sign the Inventor Rights Resolution. Thank you.
There you have it.